You're live.
Thank you. Steve, do you want to open the meeting or shall I?
You may open the meeting too.
All right, very good. Calling to order the Scottsdale Environmental Advisory Commission regular meeting. This is for the meeting for 5:30 p.m. Wednesday, September 16th, 2020. Shall I do a roll call, sir?
Please do so.
Okay, Chair Slasser.
Here.
Vice Chair Bassi. She's here.
Here.
Commissioner Lazar.
Present.
Commissioner Coletta.
Present.
Commissioner Klukluk is not here yet, and Commissioner Johnson.
Here, thank you.
And we know that Commissioner Bronovic will not be in attendance. We do have a quorum.
Excellent. Let us move to item 1 of the agenda, the approval of the summarized meeting minutes of August 19th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
This is Johnson, so moved.
Do I have a second for that approval?
This is Commissioner Coletta, second.
Are there any comments?
Chair, this
Mr.
is
Connor,
Brian.
would you please
Chair,
call
This is
the
Brian.
vote?
To show that Walter joined the meeting,
Okay, very
is in
good.
attendance.
Excellent. Walter, we are at item 1, approval of summarized minutes, meeting minutes of August 19th. I have a motion to do so and a second. If you do not have any comments to the contrary, I'd like to vote. Call for a vote.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote, Chair.
Thank you.
Chair Slasser,
Yes.
Chair Bassi, or Vice Chair Bassi,
Yes.
Commission Member Krisman Lazar,
Approved.
Commissioner Coletta,
Approved.
Commissioner Klukluk,
Approved.
and approved Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, we are 6-0 in approval.
We should move now to the second item on the agenda, administrative report. And I'm going to defer to staff to update us on the ASU Walton Sustainability Solutions contract. And then ask Anthony Floyd to update us on any green building or energy code updates.
Very good. Actually,
Chair,
before,
sorry to interrupt. This is Brian. We have somebody trying to call in from 303-717-3706. I'm going to let him in and see who this is.
okay,
303 is a Denver area code. I know this personally.
That's me.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
okay, moving on to the administrative report. Before I begin with the ASU piece, I did get some information today at another meeting, a Sustainable Cities Network meeting. The county has completed a county-wide greenhouse gas inventory, and they've also broken it out by cities. So this is going to be a pretty valuable tool overall as we try to do additional work. It is on their website. I will send out the link for everyone to take a look at. And if we have questions, we can get those back to Phil McNeely, who is the director for the air quality department at the county.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
Just a point of clarification on that. Does that mean that they've done it for every city? Is that what you just said? So that would not require individual cities to conduct greenhouse gas emissions inventories?
That's what my understanding was from the discussion that I had with Mr. McNeely today. I have not had a chance to go out and visit that site. I was in meetings all afternoon. So,
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
but yeah, I will forward everyone the link to that. And I've got to take some time and look it over as well. But that's pretty exciting. I think that that's wonderful if they've done all that for us. So, okay, moving on to the ASU Robin Nalini Walton Sustainability Solutions Service scope of work that we've been working on. We are at the home stretch with this. Essentially, we have 5 different tasks that they're going to be completing over a period of the rest of this year. Some of the tasks are fairly technical. We've assigned them growth areas for them to focus on so that they could do more detailed studies rather than try to do it over the entire city. The growth areas are as follows. It's the Air Park, Greater Air Park area, the Old Town area, and then South Scottsdale, which includes essentially the focus of the McDowell Road corridor and the Scottsdale Road corridors. We felt that that was important because we believe that that's where most of the development is going to take place. If we're going to have an impact on development on heat island effects, we want to have those areas first labeled out. We're assuming that some of the information we'll receive will also be something we can extrapolate for the rest of the city. It may not all work out in the desert, but we can look at that later. They're going to be doing some technical work where they're going to be using some different contemporary satellite imagery to do land cover data, to research the spatial patterns and potential opportunities, the greenness of the tree canopies, the impervious surfaces, and the land surface temperatures across the city. But again, the focus will be on these growth areas, essentially. The next part will be they'll do microclimate modeling. This basically includes plans for future redevelopment in those areas in an effort to understand the atmospheric and empirical modeling related to the environmental data gathered in task 1. In task 3, they're going to develop heat mitigation and adaptation strategies. This could include several different things regarding recommendations such as structural shade, landscaping standards, asphalt standards, reflective roof and pavement, recommended solutions. This also may provide the basis for a future tree and shade program. Task 4, educational policy document development. They're going to put together a document that we can utilize to place out on the web to explain to the public as well as other interested parties what we've been working on and what our strategies have come out to be. There'll still be some time to get some more additional feedback. Finally, they'll prepare a report. We're going to at least have 3 presentations during this final report, 1 to staff, 1 to you all as the commission, and 1 to city council. During the period of these different tests, we also anticipate that they will be able to meet with us in this meeting style that we have today and to give us slight updates of how they're doing and where they're headed. If they're unable to do that, I will provide those updates. So we're pretty excited about this. Like I said, we're down to the final stretch on this. I've got a letter sitting in my email waiting to go out. That's the notice to proceed. We're just waiting for some signatures back from ASU. They're having to go up the chain a little bit to get some of the signatures taken care of. But the contract negotiations are all taken care of. So that's my update for that. Are there any questions?
Tim, this is Natalie.
Yeah.
What is the time frame for that scope of work?
That scope of work is from beginning tomorrow through June 30th. And then we will have another scope of work that will start up after June 30th. It will be another 1-year period. And then we'll have a final 1-year period that will be that next fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, seeing no other questions, I don't see any hands up. Anthony, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I have a couple of updates under energy. The first one is regarding the energy code. I previously mentioned to the commission that we're planning to adopt the latest edition of the building codes, including the energy code, which will be the 2021 edition. Some of these codes are available now, but the energy code will not be available until December. And the International Green Construction Code the 2021 edition, will not be available until January. I talked to our building official last week, and based upon that, it looks like the earliest adopting the new 2021 codes will be July, or at least having the effective date July 1st of next year. That's the earliest. So we plan to adopt the whole family of building codes that would be electrical, plumbing, mechanical, green, and energy all at the same time. And so looking at July next year, but it's going to take at least 6 months 4 to 6 months to get our amendments together, the adopting ordinances. We'll get a recommendation from the Building Advisory Board as well as the Environmental Advisory Commission. So we'll keep you posted on that as we progress forward. And then secondly is I did want to mention that one other thing about the new 2021 Energy Code. There will be EV charging infrastructure for new construction to at least put in the electrical capacity and identify spaces for future EV charging. And then the other item is solar ready zones on commercial buildings as well as residential. And then quickly, the second item is related to the RFQ that went out for the energy savings performance contract. The deadline was for submittal was a couple of weeks ago. So I'm a part of the selection committee, and we're reviewing the qualifications. There are about 6 that we're reviewing. We're to finish our evaluations by tomorrow, actually. And then there will be interviews in the coming weeks. And we'll ask the successful candidates to submit proposals for the energy savings performance contract. So we hope by the end of the year, we'll have someone on board to move forward. And Lori Glover is overseeing the whole process for this energy savings performance contract. So we'll keep you posted on that as well.
I have a question for Tim. I'd like Tim to comment on the letter that the council approved yesterday, the day before yesterday, going to the Arizona Corporation Commission about the adoption of energy efficiency standards as an attempt to influence the commission's decision about adopting such things. Tim, will you update the commission on that letter and the result of the vote at the council, please?
Well, I don't have the details at hand. Anthony will probably be able to give you more of the details, but the council did adopt a letter to be sent to the Arizona Corporation Commission stating our position on the energy items that they were talking about. So Anthony, can you help us out a little bit?
Yeah, and I know Brent is on the call. I believe he was at that council meeting last night, so I'm not sure if he wants to give that update. Brent?
Go ahead, Anthony.
Okay, so a proposal council action report was sent to council actually by Dan Worth with information from Lori and myself in composing a letter spearheaded by Councilwoman Whitehead. And so this was presented to council last night, and there was a vote overwhelming approval to send a letter on behalf of the council to the Corporation Commission to support the energy efficiency measures of the update. And there was one negative vote, but there was sufficient votes to get that approved.
If the commission is unaware of this, the letter had 2 options, and option A, which was the one that was chosen, and I had to, I took the opportunity as a independent citizen, not speaking for the commission, in support of the option A, but it called for renewable energy of 50% by 2035 and 100% renewable energy by 2050 as a goal. So I just want people to know that very, very pleased that the council was willing to take that position. Commission members may be aware that we sent a memo to council on carbon neutrality, articulating our hope that the city would support a carbon neutral future 100% by 2035. But it's nice to see that our words are not falling on deaf ears. Are there any other updates, staff or Brent, that you would like to make?
Chair
relative-
Schlosser, Chair
Yes.
Schlosser, Ryan has his hand up.
Yes, I just saw that. Ryan, please take the chair, take the floor.
Thanks for calling. I also supported the city council action yesterday via a letter to the council as an independent citizen, not representing the commission. My question though goes back to something we've discussed here before, and hopefully this can be a very brief update or it can be a future update for staff, is the bond election that was successful at the end of 2019. I'm just curious what the status is of some of the renewable energy and sustainability concepts that were in that bond. I don't know if you can create a recurring agenda item, so just so we can be apprised of what's happening or you know, what the developments are in that regard. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Commissioner Ryan and Chair Schlosser, I can at least give you a little bit of an update. The performance contracting that's being worked on right now, which will start with the North Corporation Yard building, will also have the solar energy or renewable energy sources tied to that, so that it will make sense with the report one way or another, whether they'll go with the bond way of actually purchasing the solar panels, or if they will actually go ahead and do some kind of another financial agreement. But in any case, that's all tied to this performance contracting for the energy efficiency.
Okay, but I think speaking in support of Commissioner Johnson's comment, I think it would be good to have a recurring agenda item for us to be updated on the renewable energy, solar energy, and efficiency elements that were part of that bond issue that was passed by the voters.
Or Chair, if I could jump in here, does the city have a website that updates the status of those bond projects? Is there anything like that we could refer to? I'm just curious.
I'm not aware of that yet. I will take a look out there. In any case, as I mentioned, though, that the judgment call that's been made at this point is to take those bond projects for the solar energy and place them with the performance contracting. So that justification is what's been given to us. And as my understanding, it's going to take them a period of almost a year before they will be moving forward with any final recommendations on the first performance contracting. Anthony, is that the correct information that you've heard from Lori?
Yeah, that's about correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hopefully the voters will be patient. I'd like to move on to agenda item number 3 and turn the microphone over to Commissioner Johnson to update us on the inputs that we made to the general plan and the result of conversations that the committee had, Citizens Review Committee had on September 8th. So Ryan, I'm deferring to you. Oh, and 1 second, I see that Commissioner Kukulik has his hand raised. So perhaps we'll defer to Walter for a second before Ryan begins. Walter, you have to unmute. Commissioner Kukulik? Okay, Ryan, until Walter has the opportunity to speak, would you please take the action item?
Sure. I think I unmuted, didn't I? Yes. So the General Plan Committee met on last Tuesday, September the 8th. I did, well, I shouldn't say I did, but this commission provided a number of comments, suggested amendments, revisions, et cetera, which we covered in our last meeting. The meeting on September 8th did a couple of things. First of all, we went back to some callback items. Well, the meeting began with an update on public safety and the chief of police. And the committee got into a really good conversation, I think, about well-being, public safety, et cetera. We ended up approving 13-0 that section of the report as a committee. Then there was a number of follow-up items, among which this commission provided input on. I'm not going to go item by item because we had 2 or 3 pages worth of items. If you're interested in a specific item, I think everyone on this commission saw the 2 or 3 pages worth of items that we submitted. Suffice it to say, we didn't win every item. Not every single thing that we wanted was included, but many were, most were. There was a number of technical conversations that we had. For example, defining zero waste, which was a term that we wanted to put in. We talked about waste diversion, which was a term that a number of people on the general plan committee were not familiar with. So I got to talk about what that is. And circular economy, a number of people there were unfamiliar with that concept as well. So suffice it to say, as I said a minute ago, we got a lot of our suggestions incorporated, not every single one, and not every single one perhaps in the exact wording that we would have preferred, but many of them were incorporated. And just to remind you that, to my knowledge, when the committee, the general plan committee, completes our work, that this draft plan will then come back to the commissions for further review and discussion before it goes to the city council. I think the timeline for that is in the new year, 2021. And then I believe it's November of 2021 is the target date for this to be approved by citizens. We also reviewed on September 8th, the innovation and prosperity chapter, the economic vitality element, and the tourism element. Now, some of this, we had comments that were drafted by one of our fellow commissioners here, Natalie Chrisman-Lazar. Those were fantastic, and many of those, again, were incorporated. I don't recall specifically if all were or if some were wordsmithed and or improved. I think towards the end of the night, and this was a particularly long meeting, it went almost till 8:30 or 9 p.m., I think. It started at 5:30. Yeah, we ended at 8:52 p.m., almost a 4-hour meeting. So there was a lot discussed. And like I said, I'm not going to cover every single aspect of everything discussed. But what I will say is that the comments provided by Natalie Chrisman-Lazar were very helpful, representing the commission. I think based on what I heard and what I saw, we were essentially the only commission that has taken the posture that we did at our last meeting, which was to provide detailed comments. I did not hear other members of the committee representing their commission the way we were, with specific inputs and specific ideas. So I think that's a credit to us. Towards the end of the night, after a 4-hour meeting, I think there was a few comments about, sort of the level of detail and depth that the Environmental Advisory Commission was going to, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we just want what we want, and we want to have our say. So long story short, we did have our say, and I'm grateful to those of you who contributed both to the summary letter and to Natalie, who contributed to the specific comments on Chapter 7. We will have our next committee meeting is scheduled for later this month. Let me pull that up. Monday, September 21st. And the subject of that meeting will be, we're in section 2, the revitalization chapter, introduction, and the neighborhood preservation and revitalization element. So this is essentially pages 184 to 191 of the draft General Plan 2035. As the representative for this commission, I'm happy to prepare to provide on behalf of the commission to provide our comments for pages 184 to 191. If there is a member or two of this commission that are particularly eager and interested in supporting that or providing input to that, I would be happy to receive that, Chair or others. And if there are no volunteers to help provide input on pages 184 to 191, I appreciate the support of this commission, empowering me to represent the commission for that conversation on Monday, September 21. So Chair, I'll hand it back to you unless there's questions or comments.
Well, there's two things. And Brian, thank you for an excellent update. I want to recognize two things. First is that Walter Kukulik had his hand up, but it is no longer up. But Walter may have some comments to make prior to this, and also that Vice Chair Bossy has her hand up. So because Walter was first, I'm going to ask Walter, did you have any comments to make up to this point?
Yeah, and I'm okay if we want to finish Ryan's. I had a question for Anthony about the building code, so maybe we let Ryan finish, and then let me just, I'll circle back with, after we get through Ryan's, just with a quick question to Anthony. So I think it'd be best to let Ryan finish his, and then if we can circle back for a few seconds afterwards to a question for Anthony about building codes.
I will remember that. And I'm going to ask Vice Chair Bossy to unmute her line because her hand is up. Vice Chair Bossy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair Slossberg. This is, Vice Chair Bossy, and thank you, Ryan, for that great work. We did get a lot of our comments. There are a couple of notable things that we didn't get that we could just discuss at another meeting with more detail about whether or not we wish to go back at it one more time, for instance, gray water. The Wi-Fi suggestion, I believe that was Steve's, the Wi-Fi suggestion, and a couple others. And actually on Natalie's, on page 230, there were several that were not incorporated, several that were, about half and half. It looked to me, I was following the meeting all the way through, and a lot of it was just about integrating environment into the thinking. And I think one of our conversations as the board, as the advisory board, some of the feedback is that a duplicate. I think what we're hoping, and our greatest aspiration, is that there is at least enough integration of sustainability thinking in many of the other chapters to help raise the impact, the positive impact of the document as people are looking at the different documents, at different sections. So I think that that's something we'll probably need to address once again when the time's opened up. We do have on November 2nd, they're going to be addressing the implementation chapter. And there are several items from the sustainability section where our timelines are way into the future that we want to recommend moving up. So at the next meeting, we'll want to discuss the implementation chapter and any recommendations that we want coming more formally from the board before I would recommend we do that before the November 2nd meeting. And then the next two meetings are too soon really for.
Chair Bossy, Vice Chair Bossy.
Oh, did I disappear?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Anyway, I don't know how far back. Did the November 2nd meeting get?
Yes, that
Okay.
was discussed, and I want to I'm going to interrupt for a second and ask Tim or Sam to add review of the implementation chapter to the agenda for our next meeting,
Thank
which
you.
is going to be October 21st.
Thank you.
Got
Okay.
it.
The work
Thank
plan
you.
that I'm reading, the September 21st has neighborhood preservation, revitalization, conservation, growth areas, cost of development, public services, public buildings. Is that accurate, Ryan? That's because
That's correct.
Work
It's
plan.
essentially pages 184 to 191.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Okay.
you've invited people to share input.
Yes. If anybody on this commission wants to provide input to me or get on a phone call and talk through it,
Okay.
that'd be great. Obviously, there's open meeting laws we need to abide by, so
Yes.
contact me or come through Sam or however, whatever the best way to do that.
Well, I just want to intercede here for a second. First of all, I want to acknowledge that Commissioner Lazar has her hand up, so we will be recognizing her in a moment. I want to suggest, given the very short time horizon, that members of the commission review page 184 to 191 and send whatever inputs they have on that section to Commissioner Johnson by the end of this week, which is, I know, a very short time frame, but we're talking 7 pages. So, I don't think we can integrate our comments into a single document. So, let us communicate through Sam, and have Sam then send the information to Ryan, or just send it to Ryan and copy Sam so he can accumulate the inputs for that particular section. Vice Chair Bossy, if you are done, I'd like to recognize.
Almost.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So then before our next meeting at SEAC, do we call it SEAC or SEAC? What is the preferred? What is the
I
preferred?
call it ECAB, but that's me.
I think when Mr. Stockwell suggested, he said seek sustainability. That is quite enticing. So I'll say seek. So then the CRC has another meeting October 5th before we meet again, and we can get a little bit more advanced input there, because that's character and culture, character and design, land use, and a land use element. So again, we are, as Chair Johnson pointed out, I mean, there is a more formal time for commissions and public comment. However, we obviously made the choice to be a little bit more proactive, particularly in the environment section and any other sections that we, are able to do that prior to CRC ending. But as of November 8th, they're going to start another generalized public comment section, and November 16th, a recap and revisit of items. So it's all coming up. So we definitely want to be real dialed in. And I had asked the last 2 meetings if anyone had certain sections of passion, and Natalie made a broader statement of a generous statement of interest in staying on top of several of them. But I want to put that request back out there again if anyone has a particular interest in any of these, and to jump on and jump in, so we can divide it up and see if there's anything else that makes sense. We're obviously not taking over the document, but there's certainly some appropriate places that we can help integrate sustainability a little bit more broadly throughout the document. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm not sure we're not taking over the document, but that's just my opinion. Commissioner Lazar, you were next. Your hand was up. The
Yeah,
floor
thank
is yours.
you. Thank you. This is Natalie. I just had a clarifying question. Tammy, you indicated that they said something about duplicative information. What was that comment? When you were first talking, you were saying that maybe that they thought.
To respond, my reading, and Commissioner Johnson could further clarify as well, but I listened to the whole meeting. As I was listening to it as an observer, the things, the items did not get approved, and I can go over those with you individually. Part of that, the input seemed to be the strongest was, is it already covered in the environmental section? So, I think our broader section is, where's the right balance of how much we integrate in the, where we can and where the others are okay with it, integrating. And for instance, page 230 was where most of them did not get passed, as of your suggestions in the innovation and prosperity. My personal theory is the reason why I was encouraging us to get engaged more sooner is I think we are at the time where it's so important for us to give the opportunity, at least in that perspective, of places where we could do just what you did with the innovation and prosperity and just sort of appropriately propose, a few extra integrating thoughts about the environment.
No worries. Thank you so much for the clarification.
Mhm.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. Yeah, just a couple of follow-ups. I think Tammy summarized nicely. I feel good about where this commission stands in terms of the input to the general plan. Sustainability is obviously a concept. I don't need to tell anybody present here that it's a concept that's transdisciplinary. It touches a lot of different disciplines and a lot of different arenas. And I think sustainability, environmental concepts are literally being woven throughout the document. Steve joked a minute ago about us taking over the document. And just to Natalie's question a moment ago, I think there's a little bit of that feeling going on. Most of the objections that I've received, that we received, I should say, at the last meeting were things like, now we're being redundant with something that already appears elsewhere in the document. And I think that's okay to hear that kind of pushback. What it means is that we are asserting ourselves in a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. The other piece of feedback that we got was that we were getting, really into the granularity and some nitty gritty that, terminology that was flying over people's heads, like circular economy and waste diversion, et cetera. I don't worry about that. I mean, I think there's many more bites at this apple, not only by this commission, by the city council, by the voters themselves. I mean, there's a lot more input that's going to happen here. Now, having said that, I think Tammy's right. We have a couple of more opportunities coming up in addition to September 21, October 5, and in November, the implementation plan. Like I said, my email door is open. If anybody wants to communicate with me about input on those sections, I'm happy to be the representative, and I value the trust that this commission gave me to represent you all. But if there are other inputs that you want to have, I would welcome them, to be honest. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Johnson. Vice Chair Bossy has raised her hand. So I'm recognizing Vice Chair Bossy.
Thank you, Chair Slosser, and thank you for the further clarification, Commissioner Johnson. Yes, it's powerful, and I feel optimistic, I must say, in general about things and the way they're moving. I'll just give one quick example to Natalie and to the commission of something that was struck down. Natalie had suggested in EV 4.3.5, it reads, ensure neighborhoods are adequately protected from major development through design sensitivity, buffering, and traffic management. Natalie had suggested an insert of ensure neighborhoods and sensitive environmental habitat are adequately protected from major development. I personally think that was a fabulous recommendation, and that was not supported. And the cross-reference here just talks about character and design element in land use. It didn't, talk about the environmental element. So that's what I mean. We can go back and between now and the next meeting, look at and the next time that it's appropriate to be giving commission input on this, which would not be until we get back to about November, and decide where we think it's appropriate to go back at it and see if, to make that proposal again at the next phase. So there are a few of those, particularly on page 230, several that's a typical instance of that was struck down. I think, obviously, from my perspective, it added a very positive contribution to the document. So anyway, there you go.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Chair Bossy, and thank you, Commissioner Johnson, and also Commissioner Lazar for your contributions in this area. This will be an ongoing agenda item for SEAC through the end of at least this calendar year. I'm going to move on to agenda item 4 and defer to Assistant City Manager Brent Stockwell to give us an update on the Sustainability Steering Committee. I do want to, just prior to that, mention that the Sustainable Cities Network had a wonderful 1 hour long conference about climate action plans, where it brought in speakers from Flagstaff, from Tucson, Phoenix, Tempe, and I want to say Mesa, but I think I'm wrong. And I know that many of us who were on that call requested access to the recording of that call so we could share it with the sustainability task force. Tim or Sam, I don't know if that information that was ever provided. We did get the slide presentations. They are on the Sustainable City Network website, but I do not know if we got access to the actual recording of the meeting. If either one of you could take the action item to determine how we can get that, excuse me, I think that would be very valuable for Brent Stockwell and his team. And Walter, I see that your hand is up. I remember now that you wanted to talk about codes. And so Assistant City Manager Stockwell, can I let Commission Member Kukulik ask Anthony Floyd, a staff member, about code-related issues prior to your discussion?
Yes, of course. I'm happy to yield to him. Thank you.
Okay. Walter, you have the floor. Walter, you are showing up as muted on our screen.
Can you guys hear me? All
Yes,
right.
we
Can you hear
can.
me now?
Okay,
Yes.
sorry about that.
Sorry, Les, can you hear me still?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Shoot. Can you, okay. I'm getting an echo. My apologies. The question I had is related to, I think the solar zone is a great solution. But have we considered, I guess, going beyond that? I know a number of cities across the US.
Commissioner Kukulik, you're silent again.
I think I have enough information to answer his question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Staff member Floyd, please.
Yes. So the energy code provides the solar ready zone, but we're also adopting the International Green Construction Code, which it goes beyond the energy code in certain areas. And one of those areas is related to solar. So under the International Green Construction Code, there is a requirement for a minimum amount of solar electric or photovoltaic electric power generation.
Okay. Commissioner Kukulik, if you have the opportunity to respond after Assistant City Manager Stockwell and wish to, I will recognize you at that time. Assistant City Commissioner Stockwell, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Chair and members of the Commission. This is a follow-up discussion from our August meeting, and I did provide you this update in writing, but I've also taken the liberty to prepare a few visual aids to talk you through this information. And I was listening to the conversation previously, and I have some updates on the bonds that I'll put in at the appropriate place in my presentation. So Sam, go ahead, next slide. So kind of by way of background, after the City Council had accepted the organization's strategic plan, staff began to develop implementation plans for that organization's strategic plan. And it became clear that we needed to build a stronger, more interdepartmental approach to how we were tackling environmental sustainability issues here in the city. So in late 2019, we actually did a call out to the city's executive team about members that would be most interested in participating in that effort. As you can see from the screen, we have a good mix of staff, including both the staff that are directly doing environmental work on a day-to-day basis, management staff, and then upper level management staff as well. You have both assistant city managers participating in this effort. Obviously, the effort is not of any value if people don't know about it, so our communication staff are involved in it. And then a widespread team of people from our Parks and Recreation area, our planning area, public works, both the people that build the facilities, the folks that maintain the facilities, and the folks that collect trash from all of the facilities. And then also the water department, which of course is a significant part of any of our efforts. Next slide. So I'm going to build on this slide a little bit. So there's a couple of animations here so I can talk through each piece, because I want you to get a sense of what we actually did here behind the scenes on this. And so what we start with in the organization strategic plan is the council approved mission statement, which is broad, simply better service for a world-class community. Then there are 6 strategic goals of the city. These actually go all the way back 25 years ago to the City Shape 2020 process, which was a resident-led process to look out into the future, which is here now, 2020, and kind of say what were the major things they wanted the community to be like in 25 years. Each one of those strategic goals, which were guiding principles in the City Shape 2020 effort, became the chapters in the general plan from 2000. And so really every major kind of planning and implementation effort of the city falls under one of these 6 areas. Well, the ones most applicable for us is sustainability. And as we were talking to the council about what the current council wanted to accomplish during their term, it was agreed to add this objective, which I've talked to you about before, to preserve and enhance the environment through energy, green building, solar, solid waste, and water initiatives. So what the staff team did, the team from the prior slide, is we went and we looked at all of our current efforts that were underway within the departments related to environmental sustainability. Then we went and looked at the 2014 general plan update, which was, at the time we were starting this, kind of there was a citizen task force that vetted that went to council, and we used the implementation plan for that to make sure that we were comprehensively covering the things at that point that had been determined to be kind of the key environmental sustainability issues of the city. And in that, we particularly focused on the items that were ongoing or periodic in the implementation plan and things that were in the year 1 to 5 pieces in that matrix, primarily the ones that were front loaded in there. Now, I know the commission has made some suggestions about moving some of those forward. Absolutely. Whatever keeps going forward and gets green approved, we'll build that in. But I just want to let you know that that was a foundational piece of what we did in developing this. So Sam, let's hit the first piece. So we have 5 initiatives here. The first one is geared toward the sustainability plan, but also the components of that, including communications, green business and green events, reestablishing a city employee green team, and then also, because this was in the January timeframe, we wanted to come on to the work that had already been done by the commission and staff about the Earth Day celebration, which the Earth had different plans, I guess, for this Earth Day. So that's the first one. Tim Connor is actually the staff member that coordinates the sub-team that is working on efforts in that area. Second one is related to energy policy, including green building, energy efficiency, clean fuel, renewable energy such as solar. Anthony is the lead on that one. Next one, this is the one where, well, let me get through all of them and then I'll comment back on Initiative 2. Initiative 3 is the one that relates to the heat island effect and global warming, and also green infrastructure, low impact development. And Tim Connor's also the lead on that one. The next one is related to, as we talked about before, the circular economy, waste diversion, waste reduction. Dan Worth, our Public Works Director, is the lead on that. And the last one, of course, is related to water. And Brian Biesmeyer, the Water Director, is the lead on that. Now, water in particular was focusing on getting a tool out, this web portal out that would get customers much better information on their own conservation and water use. And so rather than making it really broad, which almost everything that our water department does could be lumped under an environmental sustainability goal, they wanted to really kind of focus on one major thing that they could accomplish during this time frame. Before I go back to 2, these aren't the only things that are in the organization's strategic plan relating to sustainability. There's also an enhanced water recharge program relating to new aquifer storage and recovery wells. And there's also preserve-related environment and sustainability efforts under the Preserve Meaningful Open Space strategic goal, but there are other commissions that spend their time in that area. So let me go back to 2 in particular and talk to you about the bonds. So if you go to scottsdaleaz.gov and search bond, you will get to our construction project site. There's a map there. There are all the projects that are underway are there. And we're going to keep making that better. I've already had a little bit of difficulty finding exactly what you all were talking for, and I've already kind of pinged our team to ask them to improve that further. But a resource that I found that was very helpful is one of your sister bodies, the Bond Oversight Committee, had a meeting on, I think, August 27th. And if you go to the link to their meeting, so just find it by, it's on the, if you search bond and then go to the construction projects, their page is linked to there, but you can also find it by going to search bond oversight. And there's a presentation that City Engineer Dave Lipinski gave, both on the prior bond program and the current approved bond program. All of the active program projects are there. There's excellent visuals of each one. There's also a schedule that goes through and outlines a year by year, because it's a multi-year bond program, year by year information on where they are in the process. I would not suggest a regular, like monthly update on this, because you're talking about some of these projects that you're most interested in are in out years. But when, so if Sammy transition to the next slide, what we talked about last time and what I've laid out here is a structure, I think as the chair suggested, for updates by staff on each one of these initiatives every other month. That'll be a spoken update presentation, but we'll do written updates every month. And so in December, when Dan Worth comes to present to you, either he or City Engineer Dave Lipinski can present to you on the bond projects and where they are, particularly the ones that are environmental in nature, and there are quite a lot of those. So those were the things that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. I did, the team is an excellent team. I was talking to the city manager about this effort and showed him this presentation when we were talking this afternoon. I think we've got a good breadth of the organization involved in this. If anything, it's just helpful to have a few more bodies to help do some of these projects and keep them moving forward. And certainly, like it has everybody, COVID-19 has certainly put us behind, because we certainly were on track to kind of implement this more, and we put everything on hold for a few months. But the other thing I have to do too is get the meetings of that team synced up, because they actually meet tomorrow, and I'm going to get them so they're synced up, so they're about 2 weeks before you, so that we'll have all those updates ready and able to be submitted as part of your packet, and we're ready for that. So that's the presentation that I wanted to share with you today. I'm open to any questions you have. Thank you.
Assistant Manager Stockwell, that's very exciting and very informative. But I want to let you know that we're still going to be, actively working to get a Chief Sustainability Officer position added to your staff. It's You definitely have got the whole program as we would like to see it, but I think as a commission, we believe that a chief sustainability officer would be a valuable addition to the city staff. That notwithstanding, I'm very pleased with the actions that you and your staff are taking. And, we are moving forward and making progress. So I think that's very exciting. I see a hand up, but I do not see who it's associated with. So
Chair Slosser, I have mine up. I don't know. if
there you
anyone
go.
else does.
I'm sorry. I did not. All I saw was the hand up, but I did not see it next to a name. It just popped up. Vice Chair Bossy, I will defer to you.
Thank you. Just quickly, Mr. Stockwell, thank you so much for taking the time to come and share that with us. And I'm very excited about the green team. And I'm wondering as it's evolving, if there's a further opportunity for us to have more dialogue as part of some of the decision making rather than just reports, if that would be appropriate at any stage. So I'll just throw that out on the table for consideration. Thank you.
Sure, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the commission, certainly. And when I say that we're going to be providing you an in-person update, I'm certainly anticipating that will be a dialogue with the commission and staff so that we can have those conversations about it. I mean, we can do it every other month. We can do it every month. And I'll make sure when I talk to the team tomorrow that they're prepared in particular to identify issues where it would be helpful to get the commission's input as they come before you to give their updates. Yeah, certainly. Thank you.
Would it be, is it ever appropriate for us to participate in any of the meetings at any time? I know that's not all the time, but it's sometimes, when you're fleshing out, brainstorming, for a representative. I just throw that out there for consideration as the green team evolves. So thank you.
And I want to recognize Commissioner Lazar, who has her hand up.
Thank you. This is Natalie Chrisman. Thank you so much, Brent, for that presentation. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate and applaud the efforts that you all are making to incorporate sustainability into operations. The only comments that I have, and I definitely would basically lend my approval and support to Vice Chair Bossy's recommendation that we would really like to be able to participate in a dialogue on these issues. And, we appreciate the opportunity that you've presented, that if staff can identify areas where we can provide input, I really think that would be a great use of our time. To that end, I think to give us some frame of reference, it would be helpful from my perspective to actually have documentation associated with the team and the objectives. So I appreciate the presentation that you've given, but if we could flesh that out a little bit further and continue to understand that it's a working document, I totally get that. But having documentation and at some point, a goal of putting said documentation upon the sustainable Scottsdale, I think would demonstrate the city's, commitment to sustainability and what staff are doing to drive this. Thank you.
Yeah. Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioner Chrisman, members of the commission, I think it's excellent feedback. My intent is that you're getting written updates every month, and you're having the staff that are working on this coming and having discussions with the commission. Certainly, there have been a number of times where it's project or event based, or where commission members have been involved and engaged with staff, and we want to keep that. We want that to continue. I appreciate your feedback on that. Yes, as these continue to move on, we'll continue to update the Sustainable Scottsdale website. I appreciate you mentioning that. We also have a dashboard where one can drill in on each one of these pieces that we're still trying to get the most updated information out for, but we'll have that and we'll make sure and share that with you as well. And I know at next month's meeting, when one of our new staff, a second-year graduate student from ASU, will be presenting to you on sustainability indicators and report. Another possibility of that is to get those indicators, whatever they may be, out on a performance dashboard out on the website and linked to from Seek Sustainable Scottsdale, so that people can take a look at it and see that. So, so I appreciate that. That's very good feedback.
Chair Schlosser, this is
Yes.
Sam Brown.
Yes.
I just had to make one distinction here in this agenda item where it does speak about the green team. That is a separate entity, unlike the formalized staff-driven steering committee. Assistant City Manager Stockwell saw the need and the benefit for employee personnel engagement and input, and pushed for us to draft a charter for a volunteer. Let me get this over for you here.
I was going
A
to say
volunteer green team, self-organized group of City of Scottsdale employees who are interested in bringing about changes within city operations. So this when it's up and full and filled out, will fully complement the Sustainability Steering Committee and everything that Mr. Stockwell just presented, because it's giving the employees a direct input in changes, either through discrete projects or, more importantly, behavior-driven changes when it comes to reducing waste, conserving resources, etc. So I just wanted to make that distinction, that this green team is a complementary function to what you have just seen.
Okay, I appreciate that. And my only request is that I don't know who's moving the cursor on the screens, but you're getting my vision all confused. Sorry, you're talking with a guy with 73-year-old eyes. I don't do video games for this reason. I see that Vice Chair Bossy has raised her hand, so I'm recognizing Vice Chair Bossy.
Thank you, Chair Schlosser. I'm having a hard time with your name tonight, huh? Yes, just a quick distinction. Yes, my bad. Thank you, Sam. I should have said steering committee, not green team. Thank you for that clarification and the distinction. Thank you.
Okay. And by the way, I think it's excellent that we're getting employee engagement because the people who are closest to using the materials are the ones who probably know where we can save the most. With that, I'm going to move on to agenda item 5, which I'm going to have to admit not recalling what this agenda item was completely about. I think that we have submitted information about the carbon neutrality. We have submitted, or will have submitted tomorrow, a memo about the Chief Sustainability Officer that was approved last week. I'm going to defer to other commission members. Was this for us to continue to review what we think the council should be adopting in the near-term future? Or was this something that we've already discussed?
Chair Schlosser, I can speak for this one.
If you will, please, because it's also part of Brent's.
I believe it was 2 meetings ago when we had our routine discussion on item number 6 about what to have in the upcoming meeting. The comments were made to have this as a recurring agenda item, and that's why I have included it
Okay.
repetitively.
Well, I think if we're going to have it as a ongoing agenda item, I guess, and we're not going to do it today, but I think that maybe what we can do is turn back to, and I see that Vice Chair Bossy and Assistant Manager Stockwell both have their hands up. So let me just finish this very brief thought that maybe we return to getting inputs from all of the commissioners regarding areas we think that the council should be considering, and then get those ideas through the commission itself, and then submit them with backup as to why we think these are important. Vice Chair Bossy actually had her hand up first, so I'm going to defer to Vice Chair Bossy and then Assistant City Manager Stockwell.
Thank you. Just you had asked about clarification, and yes, that's where the letters were discussed. And yes, if there's ongoing, as items do come up, that's the appropriate place for that. Issues that are coming up that we need to discuss about and possibly take action on in relation to recommendations to the council. So right now, as you stated, we really don't have anything for tonight to discuss.
Okay. Assistant City Manager Stockwell.
Chair, members of the commission, I was just going to give an update that your letter regarding the chief sustainability officer did go to the council today, and the one on carbon neutral goal went, I think, August 26th. I have not got any direction through the city manager from the council on the carbon neutral one. I did alert the city manager to your letter today when we spoke, and he's certainly aware of your request. You know, we're always continuing to evaluate the staffing at the city, and do we have the right staff in the right places in the right positions? As I mentioned during my presentation, our sense is that we need, if we need anything, we need more people to run some of these projects that are on the list rather than at an upper level management, another upper level management position. But we understand and accept the thought that went into your recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager. I think if you speak with the CRC committee, you will find that our primary goal as a commission is to be a thorn in everyone's side in the hope of spurring progress. But we're trying to do that without being annoying. I do not know if there are any commission reports or updates for future agenda items, although we did add 1 or 2. I would like to include the agenda item that Assistant City Manager Stockwell brought up during his presentation to ensure that those are included in the future meetings. And then additionally, relative to the CRC itself, while we cannot impact the September 21st CRC meeting on pages 184 to 191 at this point in time, except individually, I think that we should be reviewing the general plan and incorporate another set of possible suggestions, because we are now looking at this with a different perspective. When we were looking at the environmental section, well, that's our sweet spot and we have a lot to say. Other sections, I think we have to review and see where environmental concerns would add to those sections as best as we can. And, and again, we seem to do a lot of apologizing as a commission, but I think that's okay. So without further ado, I just want to make people aware that our next official meeting will be on October 21st. And speaking as the chair, I may be participating from very far away, a couple of time zones, but it all depends on the COVID situation. Yes, I see that Commissioner Johnson has his hand up, so I will stop my comments and turn it over to Commissioner Johnson.
Thanks for calling on me. October 21st is a 20th wedding anniversary for me. I will not be in attendance that night. And I know it's an important meeting vis-a-vis the general plan and some upcoming meetings that Tammy mentioned earlier. So I know that I will receive the comments or thoughts of the commission, but I won't be in a position to lead the conversation that night, that agenda item that night. Thank you.
And Commissioner Johnson, your priorities are in the right place. With that, I would like to take a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
I need a second for that motion.
Second by Commissioner Coletta.
Mr. Connor, would you take a roll call vote?
Certainly. Chair Slosser,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bussey,
Yes. Do we need a roll call?
Commissioner Lazar,
Yes.
Commissioner Coletta,
Yes.
Commissioner Kukla,
Yes.
and Commissioner Johnson.
No, I want
No.
the meeting to continue.
Ah,
I'm kidding. I rescind
All
my vote.
right.
I'm a yes.
Oh, we sure miss seeing everybody.
Yeah. Well, I think this was our shortest commission meeting ever. I think it was very effective. I want to thank all of the commission members and the participants, and especially Assistant City Manager Stockwell for joining us. And for
Steve, I do have
updating
one
us.
more thing. I forgot.
Yes.
I apologize. This is Ryan Johnson again. Regarding the officers for this commission, that's a calendar year basis. So the new officers, the new chair, vice chair, et cetera, that would happen starting in January. So I
Chair, this is
believe.
Brian. The meeting has ended, so it's not being recorded anymore and it's not
Okay.
being broadcast. So you can't talk any more business.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson, we will take that offline. But
Thank you.
that will be an agenda item for a meeting